Have you ever walked into a room and felt the energy shift? A certain person enters, and suddenly, everyone seems to sit up straighter. Or there's a sense of anticipation in the air. You haven't said anything yet, but it's almost as if your presence alone commands respect. On the flip side, how many times have you entered a space and felt completely invisible, as if no one even noticed you were there? This difference isn't random. There's an invisible force at play, a type of energy that people carry with them, even when they don't speak. So, what makes someone instantly commanding while others fade into the background? This isn't about charisma alone or being the loudest in the room. It's about something deeper, the way we perceive ourselves and the energy we project. In this video, we're going to break down how the simple act of controlling your energy can change the way people see you, and most importantly, how it can change the way you see yourself. If you're tired of feeling undervalued, of reacting impulsively in situations that drain your energy, or of being at the mercy of others' judgments, then keep watching. Let's dive into how emotional control and self-awareness can make you stronger, more respected, and, ultimately, more powerful. The energy you bring with you. We all know that when one person walks into a room, everything seems to shift. They haven't spoken a word, but it feels like the atmosphere becomes charged as if their mere presence demands attention. That's not magic, it's energy. This energy is an unspoken force that others pick up on, consciously or unconsciously. Now, let's compare that to someone who enters the same room and no one notices them. It's not because they're unimportant, but because they don't project that invisible, almost intangible force. It's as if their energy doesn't reach out to others, and so they fade into the background. The fascinating aspect here is that this energy is closely tied to how we perceive ourselves. People who walk into a room and command attention often have a strong sense of self-awareness. They've learned to control the energy they bring to any situation, and that control translates into respect from others. But the truth is, we don't all walk around with that level of emotional control. Some of us are still giving away our power without even realizing it. Self-respect starts with self-awareness. You might be wondering, what does self-awareness have to do with how others perceive me? Well, everything. Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant psychologists in history, spent years exploring the idea of the shadow, those hidden parts of ourselves that we often ignore or suppress. According to Jung, the more we repress or deny certain aspects of ourselves, the more they influence our behavior and reactions without our conscious awareness. Take this example. How often do you react impulsively to someone's criticism or provocation? Maybe it's an offhand remark, a tone of voice, or a look that makes you feel small. Your immediate response might be defensiveness, anger, or frustration. In those moments, you're not consciously controlling your emotional energy. You're reacting, and in doing so, you're handing your power over to the person or situation that triggered you. By reacting impulsively, you lose control over your emotional energy. Instead of owning your energy, you let someone else dictate it for you. The irony, people can feel it. When you lose control of your emotions, it makes you seem weaker. Others sense that you're easily manipulable, and instinctively, they may begin to undervalue you. The power of non-reactivity. But what if there's a way to break this cycle? What if you could walk into a room and not have to say a word to command respect? What if, by simply mastering emotional control, you could shift the way others see you? The key to doing this is the art of non-reactivity. Non-reactivity doesn't mean ignoring what's happening around you. It means consciously choosing how you respond. Instead of reacting impulsively to a criticism, a provocation, or an unfair judgment, you pause, you take a deep breath. You take a moment to choose how you want to respond. And in that moment, you can say to yourself, I don't care. Now, before you dismiss this as a simple phrase, think about what it represents. When you say I don't care, you're not simply rejecting something. You're declaring emotional independence. You're asserting that you are in control of your energy and that no one else can dictate how you feel or react. You're consciously choosing where to invest your emotional energy. And most importantly, you're saying no to unnecessary distractions and emotional drain. Let me give you an example of how this plays out in real life. Imagine you're at a family gathering, and one of your relatives makes a snide comment about your career choices. In the past, you might have reacted immediately, defending yourself or getting frustrated. But this time, you take a deep breath, you pause, You think about what you want to say, and then you calmly respond with, "I don't care." By choosing not to react, you're not only maintaining control over your energy, but you're also sending a clear message to everyone around you. You are no longer someone who can be easily shaken. The next time that relative tries to provoke you, they'll think twice. They'll realize that your emotional state isn't something they can control. Emotional independence. This is the kind of power that emotional independence brings. It's the ability to remain calm and centered, no matter what's happening around you. And trust me, this isn't easy. It requires consistent practice and self-awareness. But as you begin to master this skill, you'll notice a shift, not just in how others perceive you, but in how you perceive yourself. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming your true self. As you stop reacting impulsively, you start to reclaim your power. You become less influenced by the opinions of others and more attuned to your energy. This emotional independence is what will make you stronger, more respected, and more grounded in your life. Expanding the journey of emotional mastery. We've touched on the basics of emotional control, but let's dive deeper. Emotional mastery isn't just a one-time fix. It's a lifelong journey. In the beginning, it might feel unnatural to not react immediately. We've been conditioned to defend ourselves, to react, to get our point across. But what if this constant state of reactivity is what's keeping you stuck? Think about the last time you had a heated argument. Maybe it was with a colleague, a friend, or a family member. You felt your blood pressure rise and your heart race, and you instinctively fired back. In the moment, it felt good to stand your ground, to defend your position. But when the dust settled, did you feel stronger or did you feel drained? How much of your energy was consumed by that conversation? Was it worth it? This is the reality of living reactively. You're giving away your energy and your peace. You're allowing someone else's words or actions to take the reins of your emotional state. It might feel empowering to speak your mind and assert yourself, but in the long run, it leaves you emotionally exhausted. The cycle of emotional reactivity. We've all been there, caught in the cycle of emotional reactivity, whether it's snapping at a coworker, responding defensively to a comment on social media, or getting upset during a casual conversation. Our first instinct is often to react. This can come from a place of fear, pride, or insecurity, but at the core, it's a loss of control. Here's the thing. When you react impulsively, you let the other person or situation control your energy. It's as if you're handing over the keys to your emotional state without realizing it. People who learn to stop this cycle don't let external forces dictate their inner peace. They've learned that the power of pause is where true strength lies. The power of the pause. Why it works. The pause is powerful. It might seem simple, taking a moment to breathe before responding, but it's a transformative practice. By pausing, you give yourself the space to observe your feelings, to assess whether they're based on facts or just emotional triggers. Imagine you're in a conversation and someone criticizes you. Normally, you might jump in to defend yourself or even get angry. But in that brief pause, you can ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Is my response going to elevate this situation, or will it just drain me? What happens next? You may find that the situation isn't as urgent or important as your initial reaction suggested. By pausing, you regain control over your emotions and decide if and how you want to respond. Let's bring this back to the real world with an example many of us can relate to. The workplace. How many times have you found yourself in a meeting where someone undermines your ideas, makes a passive-aggressive comment, or outright challenges your expertise? Your first reaction might be to argue, to defend your position, or to prove them wrong. You might even feel a rush of frustration or anger, but imagine a different scenario. Instead of reacting immediately, you pause, you take a deep breath, and choose your response with intention. You could calmly acknowledge their point without getting defensive, or simply state your position clearly and confidently, without needing to over-explain or justify yourself. This kind of response not only demonstrates emotional maturity, but also earns respect. People respect those who don't overreact, who remain calm under pressure, and who control their energy. When you practice the pause, you're not only saving your peace, but you're also teaching others how to engage with you more respectfully and mindfully. The impact on relationships. Now, let's think about how this affects your relationships. In romantic relationships, friendships, or family dynamics, Emotional reactivity can be especially damaging. How many times have you gotten into arguments with a loved one where things escalated quickly because both parties reacted impulsively? What if, instead of firing back with frustration or anger, you took a moment to reflect on the situation? What if, instead of reacting to hurtful words or actions, you responded with calm understanding? The ability to pause before responding creates space for thoughtful communication, allowing both parties to understand each other better and de-escalate potential conflicts. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or avoiding confrontation. It means handling difficult situations with emotional intelligence by choosing to respond in a way that promotes resolution and understanding rather than escalating tension. The ripple effect, how emotional control changes everything. Once you start practicing emotional control, you'll notice a ripple effect. Not only will you feel more centered and peaceful, but others will begin to treat you differently. People respect those who don't get easily rattled. They'll notice that your energy is steady and unshaken, and that, in itself, will draw them to you. But more importantly, you'll begin to change the way you perceive yourself. As you gain emotional independence, you'll find that your self-respect increases. You'll no longer need external validation to feel good about yourself. You'll begin to see your value clearly and stand confidently in your energy, deepening the practice of emotional mastery. As we continue to explore this idea of emotional mastery, let's take a moment to dive deeper into why this practice is so vital in today's world. We live in a fast-paced, often chaotic environment where people are constantly vying for our attention. Between work pressures, family demands, and the ever-present noise of social media, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. In a world like this, emotional control isn't just a tool for growth, it's a necessity. Imagine waking up every day with a sense of calm, knowing that no matter what happens, you are in control of how you respond. This doesn't mean that you won't face challenges or setbacks. It doesn't mean that difficult emotions won't arise, but it does mean that when they do, you will have the power to choose how you react. That's what emotional mastery can do for you. It gives you the ability to stay grounded and focused, no matter the external chaos. Why so many struggle with emotional control? So, why do so many of us struggle with emotional control? Why is it so hard to stop reacting impulsively, even when we know it's not serving us? The truth is that emotional reactivity is a deeply ingrained habit. For years, we've been conditioned to respond to every stimulus in our environment. Whether it's a rude comment, a challenging situation, or a stressful event, by reacting immediately, we've been taught that this is the way to handle life, that we need to speak up, defend ourselves, or make our feelings known right away. But in reality, this habit keeps us trapped in a cycle of emotional exhaustion. Each time we react impulsively, we give away a little more of our power, and over time, this can lead to burnout, frustration, and a feeling of being out of control. The good news is that this habit can be broken. With consistent practice, you can train your mind to pause before reacting, and in that pause, you can choose how you want to respond, rather than letting your emotions control you. Let's take another real-life example, this time from a workplace setting. Imagine you're in a meeting with a colleague who constantly interrupts you, dismissing your ideas as soon as you speak. Normally, you might feel the heat of frustration rising, and your impulse would be to snap back, to prove that you're right and they're wrong. But instead, you decide to pause. You take a deep breath, ground yourself in the present moment, and reflect on what's happening. Instead of reacting out of frustration, you calmly express your thoughts without raising your voice. You acknowledge your colleague's input, but assert your position with confidence and composure. In doing so, you not only avoid escalating the situation, but you also earn respect from those around you. The next time a similar situation arises, you'll find yourself in a position of strength because you've practiced the power of non-reactivity, building emotional resilience. The more you practice this form of emotional control, the more resilient you'll become. Emotional resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity without being knocked off balance. When you stop reacting impulsively, you begin to build this resilience, one moment at a time, and over time, you'll notice that you're better able to handle life's ups and downs with grace and poise. For instance, let's say you face a difficult situation at home or work something that normally would have sent you spiraling into anxiety or frustration. When you apply emotional control, you'll find that you're able to step back, observe the situation, and respond with clarity, rather than reacting impulsively. This newfound resilience will help you handle stress in healthier ways, and it will strengthen your emotional well-being. The long-term benefits of mastering your emotions. When you begin to master your emotions, the long-term benefits are immeasurable. Not only will you feel more at peace with yourself, but your relationships will improve. 2. People are naturally drawn to those who have emotional control because it's a sign of maturity, stability, and strength. As you practice emotional independence, you'll notice that people start treating you with more respect. They'll recognize that you are someone who can be trusted to stay calm and composed, even in the most challenging situations. But the benefits don't stop there. Emotional control also opens up the possibility for deeper connections with others. When you stop reacting impulsively and start responding thoughtfully, your conversations become more meaningful. You're able to engage with others from a place of understanding, rather than defensiveness or frustration. This leads to stronger, more authentic relationships, both personally and professionally. The ultimate goal, emotional freedom. The ultimate goal of emotional mastery is freedom. When you stop being controlled by your impulses and emotional triggers, you experience true freedom. You're no longer at the mercy of other people's actions, words, or behaviors. Instead, you are in control of your emotional state. This kind of freedom allows you to live more authentically and to engage with others in a way that is grounded in respect and self-awareness. Imagine how empowering it would be to walk through life with this kind of emotional control. No longer will you be at the mercy of someone's bad mood or hurtful comment. You will be free to choose your responses. And in doing so, you will reclaim your power, embracing the journey, your path to personal empowerment. As we've discussed, emotional mastery is more than just a practice, it's a lifestyle. It's the way you choose to interact with the world, how you decide to react or not react when life throws challenges your way. The beauty of this journey lies in the fact that it's something you can begin today, with small steps, and see immediate results that build over time. However, the journey to emotional control and inner peace isn't always easy. It requires commitment and patience. Emotional reactivity is deeply ingrained in many of us, shaped by past experiences, societal conditioning, and everyday pressures. But just like any other skill, emotional control improves with practice. The more you pause, reflect, and respond with intention, the more natural it becomes. The goal is not to reach perfection, but to strive for progress. Every time you pause before reacting, every time you choose to keep your energy intact, you strengthen your ability to control your emotional responses. Over time, you'll find that you're not only becoming more emotionally resilient, but also more in tune with your authentic self. Strength in stillness. One of the most powerful aspects of emotional mastery is the strength that comes from stillness. In a world that constantly demands action and reaction, the ability to remain still, calm, and centered is a rare and powerful trait. Think about the times when you've been in a heated situation, and instead of adding fuel to the fire, you chose to remain calm. People often perceive calmness as confidence and strength. There's a profound power in not needing to explain yourself, defend your position, or react to every stimulus. The quiet strength that comes from this stillness is magnetic. People who can maintain their composure and calm in difficult situations are respected. They are the ones who others look to for guidance, leadership, and emotional stability. The ripple effect. Emotional mastery in action. When you begin to practice emotional control, you'll notice a ripple effect not only in your own life, but also in the lives of those around you. It's amazing how your energy can influence others. Think about the last time you were around someone who had complete emotional control. How did they make you feel? Likely, they made you feel calm, centered, and respected. You might have even felt more at ease and less likely to react emotionally yourself. Now, imagine being that person. Imagine being the one who, without even saying a word, inspires calm, clarity, and respect simply by walking into a room. This is the power of emotional mastery at work. By focusing on your own energy and emotional responses, you create a ripple effect that influences everyone around you in positive ways. People will start to notice the change in you, and they will begin to treat you differently, more respectfully, with more consideration, and with more trust in your ability to remain steady in tough situations. turning challenges into growth opportunities. One of the greatest benefits of emotional control is that it allows you to turn challenges into opportunities for growth. When you stop reacting impulsively to every challenge, you begin to see them as chances to practice emotional control and self-awareness. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by every setback, you start to ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I handle this situation in a way that strengthens my emotional resilience? For example, when facing a stressful project at work, rather than reacting with anxiety or frustration, you take a step back and break the problem into manageable parts. You create a plan, prioritize your tasks, and approach the situation with a clear, calm mindset. This shift in perspective transforms what could be a stressful, overwhelming experience into an opportunity for growth and self-mastery. As you continue to practice emotional control, you'll notice that life's challenges no longer have the same power over you. They no longer can knock you off course or shake your peace. Instead, they become opportunities to refine your emotional resilience and expand your power. Deep dive: the role of emotional control in personal relationships. We've talked a lot about the impact emotional control can have on your well-being and interactions with others. But let's go deeper into its role in personal relationships. Whether in romantic relationships, friendships, or family dynamics, the ability to maintain emotional control can be a game changer. In any close relationship, emotions run high. Misunderstandings, disagreements, or even small frustrations can lead to conflict. We've all experienced times when we've gotten caught up in the heat of the moment, saying things we don't mean, or reacting out of hurt and frustration. But when we practice emotional control, we gain the ability to navigate these situations with grace. For example, in romantic relationships, when you're upset with your partner, the first impulse is often to lash out or shut down. But when you pause, breathe, and reflect, you open up the opportunity to communicate from a place of calm rather than anger or defensiveness. Instead of saying, "You never listen to me," you might say, "I feel unheard in this situation, and I'd love to talk about it." The tone, the approach, the intention all shift when you choose emotional control. This not only diffuses the situation, but fosters deeper understanding. It creates an environment where both partners can feel heard and respected, even during difficult conversations. That's the true power of emotional mastery in relationships. It paves the way for healthier communication, stronger connections, and more harmonious dynamics. Emotional control in professional environments. Now let's shift gears and talk about how emotional control plays a huge role in your professional life. In the workplace, you'll undoubtedly face stress, pressure, and difficult people. There will be moments when things don't go your way, deadlines missed, projects delayed, or even unfair criticism. The way you handle these situations can make or break your career. Let's say you've worked hard on a presentation, and your boss criticizes it harshly. Your immediate instinct might be to defend your work or even get defensive. However, this is where emotional control is key. Instead of reacting emotionally, take a step back, acknowledge your boss's feedback, thank them for their input, and then calmly ask questions if you need clarification. By doing this, you not only maintain your professionalism, but also show that you can handle feedback constructively. Over time, this will build your reputation as someone who is emotionally mature, reliable, and capable of handling high-pressure situations. Moreover, emotional control in professional settings doesn't just help in navigating criticism, it also helps you maintain your composure during high-stress situations, such as dealing with tight deadlines or managing a team in crisis. When you remain calm and composed, others around you will take their cues from you, creating a more productive and positive work environment, turning emotional mastery into leadership. Speaking of professional settings, emotional control is also a key component of effective leadership. True leaders are those who can lead not only with their intellect and vision, but with emotional intelligence. They can read a room, manage their own emotions, and adapt to different personalities and situations. Take a CEO, for example, who faces criticism from the media or a sudden market downturn. Instead of losing their cool, a strong leader uses emotional control to assess the situation logically and respond strategically. They maintain composure, reassure their team, and remain focused on the next steps. This kind of emotional control not only strengthens their position, but also inspires confidence in those around them. Leadership isn't about always having the right answers. It's about how you manage the people you lead, how you navigate uncertainty, and how you handle stress. By embracing emotional control, leaders set an example for others, encouraging emotional maturity and building a more resilient team. Embracing self-awareness for emotional control. The backbone of emotional control is self-awareness. Without an understanding of yourself, it's difficult to know how to manage your emotions in various situations. Self-awareness means being in tune with your thoughts, feelings, and reactions. It means being honest with yourself about what triggers your emotional responses and taking responsibility for your actions. Self-awareness also requires reflection. When something bothers you, or when you react impulsively, take a moment afterward to ask yourself why. Was your response based on the situation at hand, or did it trigger something from your past? Often, our reactions are less about the present moment and more about unresolved issues from the past. By reflecting on these triggers, you can better understand yourself and start to reframe your responses. For example, you may find that you often react with anger when your authority is challenged. Upon reflection, you realize that this might stem from past experiences where you were overlooked or disrespected. By recognizing this, you can choose to respond differently the next time this trigger occurs. This is emotional growth in action, and it leads to greater control over your emotions and reactions. The role of boundaries in emotional mastery. An important aspect of emotional control is the ability to set healthy boundaries. Boundaries protect your emotional well-being and ensure that you don't allow others to drain your energy or disrespect your emotional needs. When you set boundaries, you communicate to others what's acceptable and what's not. This is a vital part of emotional mastery because it empowers you to protect your energy and preserve your inner peace. Boundaries aren't just about saying no to others. They're about saying yes to yourself. They give you the space to prioritize your emotional needs without guilt. If someone is constantly taking advantage of your time or energy, emotional control helps you recognize when it's time to step back and set a clear boundary. Whether it's in personal or professional relationships, healthy boundaries are a vital component of emotional resilience. The power of silence in emotional control. Earlier in this video, we discussed the power of non-reactivity, but another powerful tool in your emotional mastery toolkit is silence. Sometimes, saying nothing at all is the most effective response. In a world where everyone is eager to speak their mind, those who can remain silent in the face of provocation demonstrate a rare form of strength. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It means emotional control and self-assurance. It means that you're not compelled to engage in every argument or defend yourself against every comment. You choose your words carefully, and when you don't feel the need to speak, you let silence carry the weight. This gives you the power to preserve your energy and avoid unnecessary emotional drain. Emotional mastery in difficult times. How to handle life's challenges. We've talked a lot about the theory of emotional control, but what about when life really challenges us? Emotional control doesn't just apply to everyday situations. It's especially crucial when we're faced with stress, loss, or hardship. When life throws curveballs, that's when emotional mastery becomes a true test of your inner strength. In those moments of crisis or deep emotional pain, it's easy to react from a place of fear, anger, or helplessness. However, if you can maintain emotional control during these times, you'll find that you not only handle the situation better, but also come out stronger on the other side. Let's consider a real-life scenario. Imagine you've just received some devastating news. Maybe a loved one is seriously ill, or you've experienced a sudden financial setback. In that moment, it's natural to feel overwhelmed by emotions. Your first instinct might be to spiral into despair or take out your frustration on the nearest person. But what if, instead of reacting immediately, you took a step back? What if, instead of letting the emotions take over, you paused and allowed yourself to process the news without reacting impulsively? By practicing emotional control, you create space to respond with clarity and wisdom, rather than from panic or fear. This doesn't mean denying your feelings. It means choosing how to express them and not letting them dictate your behavior. Turning crisis into opportunity. When we face hardship, it can feel like the world is crashing down around us. However, Emotional control allows us to see challenges as opportunities for growth. Yes, the situation might be difficult, but it's also a chance to practice what we've been talking about: maintaining composure, setting boundaries, and taking thoughtful action in the face of adversity. Let's say you're facing a major setback at work, such as a project falling through or a colleague undermining you. Instead of reacting out of frustration or defensiveness, you pause, you acknowledge the disappointment, but you also reflect on the best course of action. Maybe you decide to have a calm, constructive conversation with your colleague, or perhaps you take this time to reassess the project and find new solutions. By doing so, you not only handle the situation with maturity, but you also demonstrate leadership and emotional intelligence. This mindset shift is crucial. Every challenge is an opportunity to practice emotional control and make choices that align with your true self. Over time, these small, thoughtful responses build up, and you become more resilient, more capable, and more empowered to face whatever life throws at you. The role of emotional mastery in health and well-being. The impact of emotional control goes beyond just your relationships and career. It also plays a major role in your overall health and well-being. Chronic stress, anxiety, and unmanaged emotions can manifest in physical health problems such as high blood pressure, weakened immune function, and sleep disorders. Emotional reactivity and lack of emotional control are linked to various health issues, but when you practice emotional control, you reduce the impact of stress on your body. The pause, the deep breaths, and the thoughtful responses create a calming effect on your nervous system. This helps lower your heart rate, relax your muscles, and restore a sense of balance. Over time, you'll notice that you feel physically better, with fewer headaches, less tension, and improved overall health. By taking charge of your emotional state, you take charge of your health. Instead of allowing stress to control you, you take control of your stress. This is one of the most powerful aspects of emotional mastery, the connection between mind and body. When you nurture your emotional health, you also nurture your physical health. Building emotional mastery in your daily routine. You might be thinking, okay, I understand the theory behind emotional control, but how do I make it a habit? It's one thing to talk about pausing before reacting, but it's another to put it into practice day in and day out. The key to mastering emotional control is consistency and integration into your daily life. Start small. Choose one moment each day to practice the pause. Maybe it's when someone cuts you off in traffic, when a colleague makes a snide remark, or when a stressful situation arises at home. Instead of reacting automatically, take a few seconds to breathe, assess how you're feeling, and decide how you want to respond. Over time, these moments will add up, and responding thoughtfully will become second nature. Next, integrate mindfulness into your routine. Mindfulness is the practice of being present in the moment without judgment. It helps you become more aware of your emotions and reactions as they arise. By practicing mindfulness daily, you develop a greater sense of self-awareness and an improved ability to manage your emotions. This might mean setting aside a few minutes each day for meditation, journaling, or simply sitting in silence, reflecting on your thoughts and feelings. Finally, don't forget the importance of self-compassion as you work on emotional control. There will be times when you slip up or react impulsively. When this happens, instead of criticizing yourself, practice self-compassion. Recognize that emotional mastery is a process, not a destination. Every step forward counts, even when there are setbacks. The connection between emotional control and self-worth. As we've discussed, emotional control is closely tied to self-respect and self-worth. When you master your emotions, you demonstrate that you value yourself enough to not let external forces control your emotional state. This is where true confidence comes from, when you don't need anyone's approval or validation to feel good about yourself. Self-worth doesn't come from the opinions of others. It comes from within. When you practice emotional control, you show yourself that you are worthy of respect, calm, and peace. You no longer rely on external validation because you already know your value. This self-assurance radiates outward, and others begin to respect you more. This is a fundamental shift in mindset. Instead of seeking external sources of approval, you become your source of validation. You recognize that your emotions are valid, but they don't control you. You choose how to respond, and that's where your true power lies. At the end of the day, Emotional control is about one thing: taking charge of your emotional energy. It's about deciding what deserves your attention, your focus, and your time. Life will always present challenges, but you can decide how you will respond to them. Will you react impulsively, giving away your power, or will you pause, reflect, and respond thoughtfully? With emotional control and self-awareness, I challenge you to take the principles we've discussed today and apply them to your life. Start small, but start today. The more you practice emotional control, the more you'll notice the positive impact it has on every aspect of your life, from your relationships to your career to your health. Emotional mastery is the key to living a fulfilling, empowered life. In closing, emotional mastery is not a destination. It's a journey. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, the version that can handle life's challenges with grace, poise, and emotional strength. The road will be long, but with each step, you'll feel more empowered and more in control of your life. Take a moment now to reflect on where you are in your emotional journey. How can you begin to apply these principles to your daily life? How can you start choosing emotional control over reactivity today? Remember, this journey is yours to create, and every small step brings you closer to the life you desire. Thank you for joining me on this journey of emotional mastery. I hope this video has inspired you to take charge of your emotions and reclaim your power. If you found this content helpful, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more empowering content. And remember, the power to control your emotions is already within you. It's time to unlock it. Stay strong, stay calm, and keep mastering your emotional energy. Your best self is waiting.